welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a very different video. It is kind of gaming related, so it does fit in, but it is not the classic gaming. It is the typical girly games that a lot of us played when we were younger. I'm basically going back to it and seeing how they look now and how much has changed. The first game was a nail game, and I just thought, okay, cool. I had an app like this when I was younger, and it's like decorate your own, like different nails and nail polish, and it was quite a satisfying game, and I loved it. But this game, obviously, this doesn't reflect every single game out there, and it doesn't reflect that every single nail game is like this. But this game was not it. The main focus was washing the hand, which was a weird process, and then the colours were okay, and like the actual nail design was okay, but then to get more designs and colours you had to watch an advert. But you know, it was okay, so I'll give it a 5 out of 10. So the next game was an ego decorate dress up game thing. I just thought, oh, this would be quite a cool dress up game. It was okay, but it was a bit weird because obviously growing up the word ego wasn't a thing, and it was like it didn't exist. But I quite liked the fashion choices. I just wished there were a bit more, but it was very simple, and you know what, I didn't hate it, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7, I don't know. So then we have the Disney knockoff dress up game, which obviously included Elsa, Rapunzel and Moana, which I think are all very popular now, and I mean Rapunzel was my favourite, so I basically, it was, you had to do the nails and then hair and outfits, and I have to tell you the outfits were atrocious and I didn't like them at all, and I had to choose one of them, and you know, I tried, but yeah, they were not, it was not great. It reminds me of Elsa Gate, because obviously well-known characters get more attention from a younger audience, but whew, that was something. It wasn't bad, but the outfit choices were awful, so I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. And then we have the Barbie thing. It said Barbie turns into Maleficent, which I think is from Descendants. It was okay, actually. It was very simple, and you know, well, I didn't hate it. So I think the options could have been a little bit better and maybe more of them. But actually, this game, it's okay, you know, it's not the best, so I'll probably give it a 5 out of 10. And then finally we have a Monster High festival game. Let me tell you, it was bad. It's just Monster High, I used to play with Monster High dolls when I was younger, and I still think Monster High is pretty cool. But this game, it just, I don't know, it just took the Monster High out of Monster High. And obviously it's off-brand, it's not official Monster High. But yeah, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. Like, the Monster High is obviously just to draw people in to play the game. In terms of like the actual fashion itself and the game itself, I'll probably give it maybe a 6 out of 10, but because it's a Monster High knockoff, I'm going to knock one down and say 5 out of 10. So yeah, but these are only a few of the games that I decided to have a look at. Obviously there's loads more out there, and there's probably games out there that are, you know, the same from what I used to play with when I was little. But yeah, they're all okay games on their own, but especially the nail one, which I was very disappointed because of all the adverts as well. But yeah, they're all okay, but it's not the same. But yeah, thanks for watching this video. I know it's very random and very different. But you know, I just thought I'd try these games out, just see how they are, and it kind of relates to gaming. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!